Thank you so much, Sister Simone Campbell, the director of a network, Catholic Social Justice Lobby based out of Washington, D.C., and interviewed you back in 2012 and 2016 and wanted to kind of make it ever a 4-year tradition for us and talk to you once again. For anyone new that hasn't heard any of my interviews with you before, Sister Campbell, just tell us briefly a little bit about Network, and about your work for fighting for people on the margins.
Happy to do that. Well, Network was founded in 1972 by 47 Catholic sisters who said, we've been working on charity, this direct service, for years, and haven't made much of a dent. We still have all these problems. Maybe what we should try to do is to do what was called systemic change some of the laws that are making the problem. So they said, let's form a network of all of us across the country and try to influence Congress. So in April of 72, we opened our doors and have been working on Capitol Hill ever since. Since that time, however, we've grown from being just Catholic sisters to being a very broad, diverse organization of faith-based folks who believe that our faith calls us to work for justice,
right.
And that we have over 100,000 folks across the country. Anybody listening is welcome to be one of our advocates and be a part of us, because everybody needs to raise their voice in these times.
So what are some, I talked to you, like I said, in 2012 and 2016, and, some of the issues that our country is facing might be the same, some might be a little bit different, some might have kind of morphed over the years. What are some of the key issues you think around, this time around? And again, it's not always just presidential election. We all tend to focus on presidential election because that's what gets all the media attention, but it's also, local, Congress people and senators. What are some of the key issues that you're focusing on this time around?
Well, one of our top agenda items is the increasing income and wealth disparity in our nation. We've had this campaign since about 2010 to what we call mend the gaps in our nation, mend the income and wealth disparity.
Right.
And it's shocking that the income and wealth disparity in our nation keeps getting worse. And for young people, it's especially worrisome because with increasing costs of education and long-term debt that it takes to get an education, it's really challenging then to get established as a young family, as a young professional, and this long-term debt is going to fund big corporations, those at the top, who don't need additional money. So we're really worried about this long-term impact of income and wealth disparity. Additionally, I must say that the racial wealth gap is ever widening, and we really need to pay attention to that. And we've got a program that folks can find at our website, networklobby.org. It's called the Racial Wealth and Income Gap. And what we've done is it shows 13 laws passed by Congress that look neutral on their face, but in fact were extremely prejudicial for and enhance the income and wealth gap in our nation by race and ethnicity. And I was shocked. I thought I knew a lot, but boy, I didn't know some of this about how the GI Bill, which helped build the middle class, really was targeted for white families, that people of color couldn't participate. There's a lot of stuff I didn't know, and I thought I was pretty educated, so I encourage people to check that out. The other thing we continue to fight about is to make sure that everyone in our nation has access to health care. Since we're faith-based, we're Christian, we read Jesus in the gospel. Jesus was all about health care, always healing folks and urging us to take care of each other. So healthcare for me is probably one of the biggest failings in our nation where, again, if you have money, you can get healthcare. Well, that shouldn't be. That isn't how we are. It's a right. Everybody has a right to live in dignity, and that requires good healthcare. So we continue to work on that one. Those are two of our big challenges at this point.
So we hear a lot of, and I'm at least I'm noticing it more, and I'm not sure if it's the buzzwords that the politicians on both sides are using, because that's what they think is going to, create, people getting excited to go to the polls. But we're hearing a lot more once again in this 2020 election cycle about life issues, with the Republicans taking their stance on the abortion issue and the Democrats saying that, life is, social justice, more, healthcare type issues. How do you respond to that? And do you think there's a way for both sides to kind of meet in the middle on both sides of that important issue?
Oh, my glory. I wish they would meet in the middle, because the thing that's so frustrating for me is what we should be about is caring for mothers. Let's care for pregnant women. Let's make sure that moms have the support they need in caring for their kids. It's interesting that the incidence, the rate of abortion has gone down since the passage of the Affordable Care Act. And this administration, 2017 was the first year that in a Republican administration, the abortion rate went down. Usually the abortion rate goes up in a Republican administration because all of the social safety net services for low-income people get cut. So women don't have economic supports. So what happened is, with the continuation of the Affordable Care Act, which this administration has tried to end and continues to try to end, which is shocking, the abortion rate has continued to go down, but it's because of the ACA. The thing that I know is that the far right and the far left use abortion as the organizing principle to stir up anger in their followers and raise money. So neither side, neither pole, neither extreme really has an interest in settling this issue. But I'll tell you, families are suffering, people are suffering, women are suffering. It's about time we ended it. When I learned that France has a much more liberal abortion law than the U.S., but a much lower rate of abortion than the U.S., I was really interested. I mean, it demonstrates the law doesn't really matter. A liberal law doesn't matter. But what the French do? They give women a year's paid leave for maternity care. They have reasonable subsidized child care available for everyone. They have in-home support for new moms. The list goes on, but it's about supporting moms. And wouldn't we like to do that? Shouldn't we be living our family values? It seems to me we ought to.
Both sides, the extreme sides on each side, use that issue as, to get people motivated, and sometimes not even sharing accurate facts one way or the other, but just to push their cause when we're kind of missing the main core of how we can help the issue. And you mentioned it right there, by taking care of mothers.
What a radical thought.
I know, right? So a lot of people might feel overwhelmed when dealing with issues that are going on in the world and how to vote, but I see that on Network have a lot of tools available to help voters see where local legislators fall on certain issues. Talk a little bit about that.
Oh, yes, we do. Yeah. Every year we publish a scorecard for Congress for how the House and Senate voted on issues that we follow. And you can see it up on our website, networklobby.org, and it shows up under I believe it's under press releases is where you can find it, I believe, or our magazine connections. But so what we have up there is the scorecard for the House for last year, so you can see how your legislator did. I'm very excited to tell you that many of the new members of Congress from the 2018 election, many of them got 100%, and all of the 13 that we followed and supported, they got 90% or better. So wow. We're pretty proud of them. Voting makes a difference because it's who you elect matters, and then to see what your elected officials did is really significant. So any of the listeners can use it to see what their House members, how they did. However, this year, for the first time in 47 years, we were unable to score the Senate at all, because the Senate took no votes on issues of income and wealth disparity, access to health care or housing or citizenship or even democracy. They took no votes. We were horrified, and it's all Senator McConnell's effort to do nothing. He calls himself the graveyard, but who's in the graveyard are our people who are suffering because of his refusal to participate in the democratic process. So it's horrifying and quite worrisome.
Well, on a slightly or more positive note, every election cycle, network seems to do something interesting. I mean, your organization got a lot of press in past cycles with the whole Nuns on the Bus campaign. Do you have anything like that planned for 2020? I mean, we've got a very intense, how many more months till the election? 9 months coming up, so.
Well, we're looking at possibly a bus in the fall.
Okay.
But for sure we're going to go to each of the conventions. So we'll be in Milwaukee in July and Charlotte in August at the Republican Convention, and do what we call our lemonade ministry, where we hand out cold lemonade and invite people to talk about the issues that matter to them. So we're really trying to engage in civil conversation about making our nation better and find out how people think differently. So for sure we'll be at the convention, so if any of your listeners come to the conventions, come find us. We'll probably be pulling our red wagons around with our big coolers of lemonade. But then in the fall we will be focusing again on elections matter, protecting our democracy, voter turnout, and helping people decide on issues, looking for what does our nation need. So probably with a bus, possibly, I don't know, perhaps. It costs a lot of money and it takes a lot of energy.
I'm just going to say that big bus probably uses a lot of gas, so you got to use that money wisely, right?
No, I know. I wish we could find an electric bus, but
there you go. Yeah,
not yet.
Wow. So yeah, and I think last time I had interviewed you, sister, was you had said that when you do these type tours and you go to the conventions, what's really empowering to you is actually talking to some of these people, right on the street about what affects them and what some of the major issues that are impacting them, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's why we do it. And actually, we've just finished a tour without a bus, but we did what we called a series of rural roundtables, going to rural parts of the country and listening to people in rural America. And it's been so powerful to listen to the struggles and the stories of rural America, because so often in our urban setting, those folks get left out of our care. And so we did 17 rural roundtables during 2019 in 16 different states. Over 250 people participated in total. But it has been profoundly impacting me to listen to the struggles of rural America and to understand that while the titles of the struggle might be the same, answers are really different from the urban reality. And so trying to build a society that works for all of us, we really need to listen to each other and find a way forward together that answers the challenges that we share.
So, like I said earlier, one of my other questions, sister, a lot of people might sometimes feel overwhelmed with all of the issues that are out there and, the direction of how our country and the world is going. And, sometimes they feel, okay, so I'm going to the polls to vote, but really what does that, in the end, does that really matter? Talk about some ways that people can get active in the whole process besides just voting, besides just, posting on social media about, Trump or McConnell or whatever. What can people actually do to really make a positive difference?
Oh my gosh, there's so much that can be done. Because I'm a person of faith, I encourage people to listen, take a little quiet and listen to where you're drawn or led. But here are some suggestions. One is to work on election day to be either a poll watcher or to participate in making voting work. There's a new video out called Suppressed, which is horrifying, about how Georgia suppressed the vote in 2018. And it's very well done, but it stirred me up to think, wow, I should just go work at the polls for the day.
Right.
A second way to get involved is, if you're interested in an issue, is to one of our issues is to sign up online just to get our email. And what we do is send out an email when you really need to contact your member of Congress or your senator. We also provide education around what the issues are and how to look at it. If you really want just only to get notice when it's the most important time and you do texting, you can text the word nuns, N-U-N-S, to the number 877-877 and get into our texting system. This we use only for the most urgent phone calls to Congress when we really need to make an impact on specific legislation. So those are a couple of ways. And then in Pennsylvania, we've been working on creating a couple of teams outside of Philadelphia as well as in Pittsburgh. We're looking at Harrisburg, trying to create some community where people can work together. If somebody's interested in that, they can email me through our website at info@networklobby.org, and we'd be happy to connect you.
info@networklobby.org.
Yeah, just put advocacy teams in it, and we'll know how to do it.
Advocacy teams in the subject line. All right. Well, Sister Simone Campbell, I know you're always very busy, and I don't want to take too much of your time. Any final thoughts you want to get out there to the public about, motivation for this election? If you're feeling overwhelmed or just, don't know where to stand, or plug your website, whatever you want to do.
Well, I think probably the most important thing that I want to say is that democracy is an experiment, and our founding fathers and mothers weren't sure it was going to work, and right now there's some serious question, and what it's up to is the people. The Greeks who started this idea of democracy said the only way that a democracy could survive is with an educated populace. So quite frankly, it's up to us, and to understand, to talk, and to make our nation better so that it works for the 100%. And I know we can feel angry and hurt and depressed and outraged and just want to pull the covers over our head, but the fact is democracy can't function that way. So we need you to stand up. But if we stand together, then we can do it. Because if you're excited and engaged one day and I'm feeling a little down, you'll help me along. And if I'm excited and engaged and you're feeling a little down, I can help you along. Democracy is for community, and we have to do this together.